everybody, and welcome to the final part of our 2024 United States presidential election analysis. We've done quite a few of these before the election, but this is kind of like the postlude. We're at the end. The election's already occurred. We know who's won. We're just going to dive deep, see what happened, see the trends, see what we can learn, and maybe start looking a little bit ahead towards 2026 and 2028. So let's go ahead. We're going to hop right into it. There's a lot to do. We're going to touch presidential races, House races, Senate races, quite a bit from a very broad perspective. We're not going to go very deep, but so let's go in there. Let's take a look. So obviously, this was a Trump landslide. If you're looking at the map behind me, this is the 270 to win final map. Every state has been called, and Trump took every battleground state. He took, I was wrong. Okay. I didn't think he was going to take Wisconsin and Michigan, but he took both. And, that was not something I saw. I know Real Clear Politics saw it at one point. I know a lot of people called for that early on, and I kind of felt that was being a little too fanciful. I didn't see several things. I also didn't see a popular vote victory. With my analysis, I just didn't see how that was going to happen. I figured it was going to kind of go more closer to the way that the 2016 campaign went for Hillary Clinton against Trump. So it just didn't go that way. I mean, I can be wrong, and I can admit that I'm wrong, and I'm perfectly fine with it. In the end, Trump won 312 electoral votes to Harris's 226. We're going to look at the popular vote here in a minute, but it's like a 4 million vote lead in his favor. Something I never thought that Trump was ever going to do. Let's go ahead. We're going to look at the 538 final poll before the election. I think the final polls are always a little great to see afterwards. 538 had Harris with a 1.2% popular vote lead at the end, and Real Clear Politics had her with a 0.1. Well, as it stands right now, Trump is 2.6% ahead in the vote counting. So not only were they both wrong, myself included on this, but he's ahead by 2.6%. I mean, that's within the margin of error for the most part. Most of these are like 2.5 and 3s, but still, we didn't think this was going to happen. I don't really know too many people who did, at least people who were very serious and been doing this for a while. There's that. Now let's go ahead, and I want to kind of run down the list, and we're going to use Real Clear Politics because Real Clear Politics has the current results for every state versus what they had for their final polls. I just want to show these off just to kind of see where we were. You can all see where we started to where we are now. It's kind of important. So if we look at Arizona, they had Trump winning by 2.8%. Trump won by 6.1%, and we're not done counting the votes there yet. As of the time I'm recording this. I mean, but the margin of error was being seen like 3%, 3.5%. And this is pretty much outside of that. Even the margin of error did not count for how far, the Republican vote was going to go. So polling was pretty bad this time around. I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to vouch for the polling at all. It looks really bad how bad we were off. Let's take a look at Nevada. He's at 3.4 right now. He was at 0.6 on the day of. So again, that's almost 3%. I mean, there's still votes being counted in Nevada, not very many, but still, that's again pretty bad. When we're approaching the upper edge of the margin of error, and I mean, you go out of the margin of error, means you did not, you weren't close. Is really what it means. Let's go to Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin, of course, was in the margin of error. Trump has won it by 0.8% of the vote. But we thought Harris was going to win it the day of. And I did too. I had that on my map. Let's go look at Michigan, the other one I had that way. They got him at 1.4% winning it. 0.5% is what they had in favor of Harris on the day of. So, a pretty good little swing there. Pennsylvania, the state that we thought was going to be the closest, wasn't the closest. According to that, they thought 0.4% in favor of Trump on the day of. It was 2.1%. I mean, a full percentage point and a half off. I mean, it's not, and this isn't like I'm going to blame a poll for this one. It's just weird stuff. Let's go look at North Carolina. 1.2% polling on the day of to 3.3%. And then for Georgia, 1.3 to 2.2. Okay, so I know I'm probably going to catch a little bit of crap from this from folks who are a little more left wing. Fox News does a much better job of presenting this information in an easier to read format. So that's why I'm using Fox News. You could find this pretty much the same information on CNN. The vote tallies might be a tad bit different because of who they're bringing it in from, who they count, who they have it. For the most part, it's going to be the same. You're not going to see a change in result, but it's nice to see it this way. And I just use Fox News for my night of just because of how quick they do things. So anyways, you can see here, still 312 for Trump, 226 for Kamala. And we kind of, we need to kind of go in here and look at our battleground states a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you exactly when I knew Trump was going to win this. I know the exact time because I was making a marker. I have notes when I was sitting, I had notes on my iPad. I was sitting there watching it like the rest of you. I was watching the coverage, and it was 9:47 p.m. on the East Coast. At that point, I had the first indication and knew I could pretty much look at my wife and tell her Trump's going to win this. And the reason why that was because there's a state that we didn't think was in play, and it ended up not being in play, but it ended up being much closer than we thought. And if you can guess the state, you get an attaboy from me. That state, Virginia. I know, I didn't think Virginia was in play, but we're going to take a look at it. So here's Virginia right here. Actually, let's go in here and do the better thing. And let's pull up Virginia, fully. So here's Virginia right here. As you can kind of see, at least I'm hoping you can see it. Let me make sure. Yeah, as you can kind of see, Virginia is a very weird state. It's the North, it's got a lot of federal government stuff going on in it. So up here in the North near Washington, D.C., down here in Richmond, and then down here with Norfolk News. And then there's a bunch of smaller city kind of townships that end up getting their own kind of county. There's some weird stuff like that. That's why you can see what looks like, you got Montgomery County and then Radford City. And then on the other side of that, you get Pulaski County. There's Buena Vista City in the middle of Rockbridge County. So that Virginia is weird. I don't know very many states that do this. But anyways, so you can kind of see just kind of how some of this all lays out. Now, a key indicator is how blue are some of these counties going. So about 9:47, I heard a rumor, and again, I just heard a rumor that the governor Youngkin of Virginia was telling folks, watch out, something's going on weird, something's going on, don't call it yet. And I mean, when you look at a 51.8% to 46.6 victory, you think, oh, well, what could have been different? Look at Fairfax County. Fairfax County voted 66.02% to Trump's 31.29. It's a very populated county, and 365,000 votes for Harris, 173,000 for Trump. Now, during that part of the night, this was closer to about 60-40. But on top of that, if we look at Virginia, like I said, it was 66.02 to 31.29 in the end. We're going to come forward right here, take a look at 2020, and come back into Virginia, and we'll see that Fairfax County was 70% for Biden. A full 4% difference. Now, 4% when you're talking hundreds of thousands of people is a big deal. We're talking Biden got almost 420,000 votes to Trump's 168. And then when we when we zoom back out and go back to 2024 and take a look at it, it was 365 to 173. A lot of votes. That's 60,000. That's almost nearly 60,000 votes that didn't show up for Harris, and only 10,000, in the realm for Trump there. That's a huge difference. That's what was making the difference in Virginia. Now, I say all this, and I've drawn that out too far, I'm sure. But the point being is, when I saw that, I knew where this was going. I knew that blue areas were not, Democratic stronghold areas weren't showing up in the numbers that Harris needed to win it. I talked about it in every one of my videos. Turnout was going to be a key. How likable you were, your favorability ranking, remember, needed to be high enough that you could that it would offset and make sure people turned out to vote for you. So that didn't happen for Harris. It happened. Trump didn't have that problem. I said the whole time, does not have this problem. Harris does. And it showed. All right. We're talking as of this time. I mean, it's midnight it's midnight morning of the 11th of November. And we're talking nearly 75 million votes for Trump. And she's still down at 71 million. 4 million, almost a 4 million vote difference, between the two of them. He's won the popular vote and the electoral vote. Last time a Republican won both, 2004, I think. That's just one of the things that's the time I probably noticed it the most, or I really felt like I noticed it. I'm pulling up my notes here again because I want to make sure I hit on some key things. So, obviously, let's take a look at some of our states that were, in play. I'm going to start with North Carolina here. Let's just start from the east and work our way west. So from the southeast and work our way up and out. All right. So look here at North Carolina. Remember I was telling you there's like this triangle. Well, there's Mecklenburg. Here's where Charlotte is. Here's Guilford. I think this is, it's kind of like Wake County to Guilford to Charlotte. There's normally a ton of Democrat votes in here. This out here is Asheville. I remember we thought that this area might be a problem with, the number of people coming out to vote, which it really kind of offset this. But there's so many more people came out through these areas in the suburbs around Charlotte, the suburbs in between Charlotte and Raleigh. And that's where you really see how this election was won in North Carolina. I think at the, if we go in here and we take a look at North Carolina's tally for the night, I gotta find it. They don't really have this in perfect order all the time. 51.1 to 47.7. It was almost a 200,000 vote difference. Apparently there's almost 56,000 votes not counted. Take what you want of this. This might change a couple percentage points or something, but I'm not going to call it a big deal. It's definitely not going to go the other way. So there you go. That's North Carolina. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at Georgia. Georgia, my home state. Here's that Atlanta block right here. There were some issues in Atlanta. If you were paying attention to any of it, DeKalb County is a kind of southeast of Atlanta. Of like Fulton County is Atlanta, and then this is southeastern Atlanta right here in DeKalb County. They had some problems with some bomb threats at polling stations. Don't know who did that, but regardless, that's a horrible thing to do to people when they're trying to exercise their right as an American citizen. But anyways, you can kind of see all this right here. It's pretty much a Democrat stronghold surrounded by Republican states. You got Athens, Clark County is where the University of Georgia is, doing pretty well, to be quite honest. Muskogee County, this is where Columbus, Georgia is. Again, you're getting down here into what's called, it's called the Black Belt, and it's not called Black Belt because there's a lot of black people down here. It's called the Black Belt because of the soil. So, or at least that's what I've been told. We're talking 80,000 total votes in Columbus and, 61 to 38. Trump did better here than he did in 2020. So this was kind of a key area that I see about 10,000 more votes difference. Looking out here towards Savannah, again, he did better in Chatham County than he did in 2020 right here. And then out here in Augusta, roughly about the same, to be quite honest. This area kind of, it doesn't surprise me, but, just is what it is. This is all still, Southwest Georgia. This is probably the most Democrat area that's consistently Democrat lately, for the last like 30, 40 years. They've never, if I showed you the state house district for all of Southwest Georgia, which is Georgia 2. Yeah. Georgia House District 2. It has never had a Republican in charge of the district ever. So it's kind of funny, just small trivia. I know this because I live in this area. I've tried to help Republicans win in this area. That's why I know these things. Anyways, we're talking about 120,000 vote difference here. So again, I mean, 50.7 to 48.5, a very, very much a battleground state. Let's go ahead and take a look at, let's go to Arizona. It's the first one on the list. I just saw it. Arizona, they're still counting votes. Arizona's elections are really weird. They don't count fast. And the reason why is because you can ask for a mail-in vote. You can fill it out the day of the election and take it and hand it in at special drop points. And the problem with that is those have to be hand counted. So they don't, obviously, they say it could take them 10 days to 2 weeks to figure this out. And honestly, they've got to get a handle on that. At least make it so you can feed it through a machine because it's ridiculous that it takes this long to do this. But anyways, we're looking, because here we are, Pima County, 84%. Santa Cruz County, 96%. Maricopa is at 95%, 85 in Yavapai. This is kind of ridiculous. We should have results already, guys. Anyways, 280,000, almost 281,000 votes left to count, but it's about it is actually exactly a 200,000 vote difference. You can see where they called Trump finally to win this state, 52.3 to 46.6. The biggest thing here is you got to win Maricopa. Maricopa is where Phoenix is, and if you don't win Maricopa County, you probably aren't going to win Arizona. At least you got to win it very close. This is pretty close, 51.35 to 47.58. So just a heads up, that's why Trump probably won, or that's probably why he won Arizona. Let's go on to Nevada, another state that was up in play this time around. And there it is. All right, so in Nevada, if you've never been there, if you don't know anything about it, Nevada is like Las Vegas down here in Clark County, and then it's like Reno and like Reno and Silver City, I think, up here. Carson City, that's what it is. Carson City is here, and I think Reno's up here, if I'm correct. It's something like that. Anyways, pretty much you got to win those counties, and in this case, Trump did really good in Clark County, which is where Las Vegas is. Only lost it by like 30,000 votes, and then the rest of it he did really well. Winning. He was close in Washoe County, which I guess is where Reno is, but Carson City, it wasn't that close at all. And that's probably, let's see, that's about 3,000 votes difference there, and it just added up, over space here. So we're looking at 57,000 votes still to count, but he's won with 50.6 to 47.5. That's a 35,000 vote difference. So not too shabby right there. Now let's go to Pennsylvania. This is the one that we thought was going to be the big problem big problem. And it actually really wasn't. 98.5% in, 50.6 to 48.5. He's won it by about 150,000 votes. So he's done better than he did in 2016. And I think better than what Biden did in 2020. But don't quote me on that because I haven't checked that. Philadelphia is down here. Pittsburgh's out here. Scranton's up here. And Harrisburg is right here. And that's pretty much where the population is. Those are the urban centers. He won Erie, another population center. He won the suburbs around these cities. And then he also did pretty well in the Philadelphia area. And I'm going to, if you take a look here, Philadelphia itself was 78.7 to 20.12. Delaware County to the south was 197 to 122. Chester, 183 to 137. 310 to 195 in Montgomery, and then Bucks County was 195 to 196. Now, that might seem horrible, but understand that in the past, Democrats have done a lot better there. And the reason why I'm thinking they didn't do so well this time around is actually because of the anti-Semitic viewpoints of some of, kind of the younger parts of the Democratic Party recently. If you've forgotten 6-7 months ago, college campuses were inundated with, pro-Palestine protesters everywhere. And during that time period, I think that kind of the Democrats really didn't try to, instead of picking a position that was not, it didn't have to be pro Israel, but it did have to be, pro anti-Semitic, if that makes sense. You had to be against the the anti-Semitism coming out of that. And they really didn't do that. Now the Republican Party did. They were very strong on that. They were also very strong, pro in being pro-Israeli as well. And because of the Democrats, inability to get right on that position, I think it drove a lot of Jewish people in these areas to not vote for Kamala Harris. And on top of that, you've also got a lot of people who are religious in these areas, I think it's a very Catholic area as well, who, we're talking a lot of, Southern Italian type, background people, who are very Catholic. And that, I think that just turned off a lot of those people. Some of those comments that we said, that, some of those comments that came out about, you're at the wrong rally, talking to, when people yelling out, pro God things. Welcome to your words, and your actions have consequences. And I think some of that had to play in Philadelphia. So anyways, Philadelphia was 50.6 to 48.5, very close, but 150,000 votes difference. And then let's go up to Wisconsin, probably the second surprise for me on the night. Wisconsin had some issues in Milwaukee with some counting, actually. One of the big stories of the night was the locks were not turned on where the votes are kept, even though the seal was in place. They had to do a lot of recounting. They were recounting into the night. It affected like 30,000 votes, though. That's a big deal when you're talking about roughly about 500,000 votes. Trump did not carry Milwaukee, but he did better than people thought he was going to do. We really were looking at kind of this area of Wisconsin, though. This area is a big indicator for the entire state, because this area kind of flips back and forth. Whoever wins this area generally wins the entire election. So, Winnebago County and Green Lake and Waushara, Wapaka, I think those are the main states or main counties, Calumet County. Whoever wins these, I think it's a good cross section of the American people. And they did, for the most part, these folks, they were all Republican. 50%, some 60%, and just across the board, they just were able to, the rural and the suburban areas just showed out. And Wisconsin, pulled ahead by like 22,000 votes. It's very narrow. I mean, you can see it didn't even get 50%. There's third party votes too. 49.7 to 48.9. That's very narrow. Let's go ahead over to Michigan. Now, Michigan was a bigger Trump win, but still some fun stuff to look at in here. Detroit is here in Wayne County. I was watching Wayne County all night. I'll be honest, Wayne County was on my radar all night because I was really wanting to see what happened with Detroit. There was some really weird stuff with Detroit in 2020. I just wanted to see if their votes were being counted more than anything else. And their votes kind of trickled in overnight. Harris won at 62, almost 61 to 33. Some of the suburbs, and there's a lot of college towns out here. Kalamazoo County, Kent, Ingham, Washington Tall, all these guys out here. This is where like the University of Michigan, Michigan State, East Michigan stuff, or West Michigan, things like that. They're all located out here. But up here is where we were really kind of looking in these rural, kind of, out of the way counties to see just how far they went for Trump. Because these would be more indicators similar like Wisconsin to get more of a cross section of what the rest of the United States was going to do. Taking Michigan was not something I thought was going to happen. You can see it was very close, 1.4%. But it's about 80,000 votes. That's really what it came down to, about 80,000 votes. So, I think I've given you a lot of information on that. I know we're deep in the video. It's probably not being seen. Republicans took control of the Senate. So far, so far as of 12:30 a.m. on the East Coast on November the 11th, they have flipped 4 seats. The Democrats have lost 4 seats. There's only one more seat up for anybody to take, and that's in Arizona at this point. I don't think Lake is going to win it. 92% of the vote in, just about, and we're looking at about a 70,000 vote difference. It could happen. I doubt it. So I would go ahead and call this and say our final count's going to be 53-47. Republicans take control of the Senate, which gives Trump a pretty good hand in Congress. Now let's go look at the other half of Congress, which is the House. And as of this time, it's 214-203 with 2 seats having flipped. There was a big thought that Republicans were going to lose the House. We were pretty sure we probably going to win this, There's a big kind of thought that we were going to lose the Senate and win the House. Now we're looking like we're going to win them both. If we take a look around, we only need 4 more to reach a simple majority. And we're definitely going to, I think that's a kind of a given at this point. If we look at some of these races, Washington 4 is between 2 Republicans. I don't know if one's like a mega Republican, another one's a not so big of one. I don't know the difference between them. But regardless, that's going to be a Republican seat. There's one. Oregon 5 is probably going to go Democrat. Let's go down to California. California 9 will be a Democratic one. California 13, 40% left to count. But where this is at, I'm going to say it's probably Republican, just based off of knowing California geography and demographics. I think this is probably going to stay Republican, so that's 2. California 22, same thing, even though it's 25%. I want to go ahead and say it's a Republican count as well. Let's go down a little bit further. California 27, probably going to go Democrat. California 39, going to go Democrat. California 41, that'll probably go Republican. This area tends to vote southeast LA, southeast of LA. There's a lot of Republican areas down there. Arizona 6, probably gonna go Republican. It's really close, but if it finishes out right there, there's 5. Colorado 8, it's really close here as well, but I feel like there's not a lot left to count. I'll go ahead and say it's another one's at 6. Iowa 1, I think that'll go. That should call. They should call that now. Probably it's in a recount situation. But again, that's what, 7. Toledo area, which is Ohio 9, it's probably going to go Democrat. Down here north, like the Baton Rouge, north of Baton Rouge area of Louisiana 6, that's a Democrat count. I don't know why they haven't done it yet. And then Maine 2 looks like it's probably going to go Democrat. This has been kind of changing throughout the day because they've been wrapping up their vote counting. But yeah, I mean, here we are, 214-203. I've counted 7 on my hands. That's 221 Republicans are going to hold the House. And that's going to be a majority hold of every branch of office for Trump. The Republicans are going to own the House and the Senate, meaning they control all of Congress. They're going to own the White House. And because of the way the Supreme Court got dealt with Trump, he's going to own that too. And I think we're looking at a situation where Trump should be able to get what he wants done through. If he doesn't, it's because he just can't unite people. Yeah, so we've taken a look at the White House. We've taken a look at the House. We've taken a look at the Senate. So let's kind of start wrapping this whole thing up and putting a bow on it. I'm going to touch on some things, some conspiracies that have been going around. 2020 is a very weird year now in terms of our statistics, as far as our statistical analysis of voting. And the reason why that is because there was 158 million votes. Biden had like 80 million votes to Trump's like 74 million. And Trump managed to get 74 million this time, but Kamala's missing like 10 million votes. And it makes you wonder, how did we, if you follow the trend of looking at the turnout ratios for US presidential elections, it's anywhere from 55 to 60, 61% in and out every year. That's about how many people show up to vote. And then out of nowhere in 2020, you get it 66%. And then you go back down the next time. It's just weird. I'm not going to sit here. You can draw your own conclusions, but please don't buy into the conspiracy theory that there was like illegal vote harvesting and things like that. And I don't mean to put that idea into your head either. What I'm saying is just don't buy into it. Let's take a look at it over time. And if we still keep seeing, 60%, I mean, it could just be people had the option to mail in the vote and people did. Okay. A lot of places didn't do mail in votes this time because just how weird it did go last time. So let's just, for now, let's mellow out on calling out conspiracy theories, and let's just kind of accept the results for what they are. I don't see anything that looks illegal, in terms of, I don't think there was any weird foul play one way or the other. I think this is a pretty fair election. It's nice to say that. I say that, and I felt like, I'm like the Grinch. My heart grew like 3 times larger when I said that, because I felt really good saying this felt fair, and I really do feel like it was fair. Not because my guy won, just because it really did. It felt across the country like it was fine. And then the other conspiracy, I've seen a lot of freakouts from people on the left. There's some people who are very worried and are very scared. A lot of fear going around on the left. There's a lot of people really happy, and in some cases boastful on the right. Let's just calm down, okay? And understand that, we're all neighbors. We are all fellow countrymen. We all have a stake in this, we all have a stake in this together. All right. We have to live with each other. We have to mend the divide. We cannot be a divided country any longer. All right. We need to work together, and we need to just try to heal. The best thing that we can do right now is let's get over the results. Let's get over our initial feelings, and let's all get together and have conversation, have calm, willing to listen conversations. No, not arguments, pleasant debate, because that's how we're going to heal all this. To Democrat supporters who may be part of the LGBTQ community, most Republicans are not out to get you. I don't think President Trump is out to get you. To Democrats, people on the left who believe it, the Project 2025 stuff, I don't think is real as far as anything that Trump wants to do. There's some things he says he's liked in it, but there's some things he hasn't really read it either. And at the same time, I just don't think most Republicans don't want that. So let's maybe drop the fear mongering level down a bit. The Republican side, guys, you think about how we all felt in 2020. Think about how we all felt in 2008, 2012. Let's, instead of, being up on our high horses and laughing at people crying about this, let's extend a helping hand. Let's be friendly. Let's work with them, and let's try to reach a mutual understanding. Okay. At the end of the day, we have to be neighbors. We're all on this boat together. If it sinks, it sinks. If it sails, it sails. And at the end of the day, we shouldn't be, if you're on the left, I hope that you're big enough not to want it to sink. That's horrible. You're on the boat with us. You can't jump off the boat. We're pulled out the dock for the next 4 years. Please stay on the boat, work with us, and please campaign for your people. If you feel like Democrats can do a better job than what's out there, go out there and campaign. Go out there and make sure you do your voting. Make sure you're volunteering. If you're on the Republican side and you think things are going great, step out there and go volunteer. Go vote. Do the things you're supposed to do. That's what it comes down to. I really, I'm not here to just, rah rah, peace and, peace forever. But please just be neighborly. All right, let's put this thing behind us and let's go make the country the best it can be for everybody. Okay? So with that said, anyways, guys, I've appreciated all the support that this has gotten. This is not something that's going to happen on the channel very often anymore. Probably not until midterm elections, so like 2 years. And I'm going to do it very sparingly because I hate midterms. I hate midterm elections altogether. But, I just want to say thank you so much for your support. And check out the other content that's on the channel. We mostly do ahistorical content. We go through and we do what ifs for empires, what if scenarios for other countries. It's a fun deal. Please go check those other videos out. Leave likes on them, comment on them, and just stick around though. We're gonna have a lot of cool stuff coming out here in the future. And guys, I appreciate all your support, and I'll see you all next time.